how many times have you seen people almost in a weird way look down on electricians because
y'all don't have a college degree, or y'all don't this, or y'all don't that?
That's the other shift in education that I don't really like. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with college. I mean, this coming from the woman who has 2 degrees, so obviously I value education.
Sure.
But I don't necessarily think that that needs to be the path for every single child.
It's not necessary. Like,
no.
There are different paths, like you said, and that's an argument that I also preach out too. Is that like, right? Everyone looks at electricians, plumbers, way beneath us. But in reality, like,
most of them make more money than most of the people who have college education. Everyone told them, go to college. That's the only way you're gonna be successful.
Maybe this is a good conversation. This is a good link today. Because like I've been for the life of me, super busy, right? Entrepreneurship is
it is, yeah, 100%.
But I've always wanted to, like, whether it's trades or just entrepreneurship, is get it into the school system to show these kids that it doesn't have to be, you don't need a 4-year, 8-year degree and stuff. You don't have to do that. There are other options or other avenues.
I told my girls, so I have 3 adult stepdaughters. I told my girls the same thing, all of them. I said, I don't care what you do for a living, as long as you're good with it and you backed into it.
Yep.
You ended up there intentionally. You didn't just be like, well, I'll just figure it out. Like, you know what I mean? And I said, figure out what kind of lifestyle do you want, right? There's nothing wrong with people who want to live in a tiny home, right? And that's like their goal in life. Like, that's great, right? Or they want to live off grid, or they want to live in a 40,000 square foot house. I don't really care. But as long as you kind of have your goals set out, but none of that is being tracked or mapped for anyone.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is Wrestling with Entrepreneurship. It's episode 52 billion or something like that.
Yeah, great, perfect.
Today's guest is, now I'm in my head, I'm trying to figure out how to pronounce it correctly. But
just say Jax, it's fine.
Is it Jacqueline?
Jacqueline, but it's fine.
Jax.
Right. There you go.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about you, about who you are as a person, maybe even as a business, PB&J, favorite sandwich. I think I have one of your things.
Oh, do you?
Laying around the office somewhere.
We give them out quite frequently.
Yeah. Why don't you give the listeners a little bit of like background on who you are, Jacqueline?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Jacqueline Crider. I run PBJ Mortgage, making mortgage simple as making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I have been in mortgage for about 20 years. PBJ though started literally at the height of the pandemic. We started the company officially in March of 2020. So that was super fun. Yeah, exactly. Well, and not only that, I don't know if anybody remembers what was happening in 2020 besides the pandemic, but everyone was trapped inside of their homes and started hating or loving their homes and wanted to either do house projects or buy or sell. Yep. So mortgage just went to hell in a handbasket in a hurry, but so is life in mortgage. Yeah. I got into mortgage on accident. I actually was in college. I needed a job. I happened to be at my youth pastor's house. I was like a leader for a discipleship now type of a weekend thing. Okay. And I was talking to his wife, who I was pretty close to, and she said, well, why don't you come work for my mortgage company? You need a job. And I said, great.
Okay.
I didn't really know anything about mortgage, but I said, I'm pretty good at math. I like people. I can do that. Sure. And we kind of have a joking saying in mortgage that it's like the mafia. Once you get in, you can't get out. And it just kind of sucked me in, and I never really left. So when I got out of college, I actually did sell property and casualty insurance for Geico for about a year. Okay. And then I went back into mortgage, and I've done all the jobs from processing to underwriting to loan origination. That's basically the people who help you get the loan itself, as well as compliance. So I'm the crazy individual who got a law degree when the mortgage meltdown happened in 08-09. As I was telling you, I drove 2.5 hours round trip commute between work, home, and school for about 4 years. So I did mortgage compliance for one of the largest lending institutions in the country for about 2 years. Loved it, was super good at it, had a really difficult boss, and hated being chained to my desk. So I'm back doing what I love, which is educating people, and that's pretty much what my passion is. So I'm an unusual salesperson in that respect. Yes, of course, like I'm a commission-based individual. However, I see it as really important to understand what people need and educate them based off of that.
So you're giving a little bit more than the normal 2 cents at the
Sorry about that.
Companies. No. No,
that is what I do. I'm just, well, I mean, and I'm unusual in that, like, I just stood up a whole platform of education called HouseU, and HouseU is like it's geared toward millennials, but it's really for anybody who wants to understand how to buy a house. It's supposed to be something that people can do whenever, when it's convenient for them, because there's just a lot of misinformation in existence, and for whatever reason, people are very afraid to talk to us. I think they think we're the big bad wolf.
I think buying a house is scary in general, right? Especially if it's a new situation. I think I remember you talking about HouseU like during one of the showcases and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is a unique, because it's it is a charity, right?
Yeah, so there is a charity piece of it, and there's actually also another charity that I'm in the process of standing up that actually goes in and educates inner city school kids about money, finance, credit. There is quite a few industry professionals that I'm partnering with, as well as a few teachers that have taught inner city that we're working on setting that up, because my biggest heart is for those people particularly, because you typically learn money from your family and from who you're around. And if you grow up in poverty, then the likelihood is very good that you're not going to have any understanding. Right,
because you don't have it to even start with, right? That's I might talk to you after this, because like realistically, I think that's a problem with like trades and stuff too. Is that like we've all kind of come from like nothing, right? We're working paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, and like we don't realize how to make, I guess, that strong connection of savings and where to put stuff and stuff like that. I mean, I got guys that are making good amounts, and then like come Wednesday, they're like, man, we get paid Friday, I'm broke already. Fuck.
Yeah.
It's been 3 days. What do you mean you're broke already?
Well, and it is a common problem, and it's been made worse because I would say in the last 20 or 30 years, we've kind of come in this attitude of consumer nation that like, we need more things, we need more things. And you think about it, like a perfect example is a smartphone. Yeah. So those are expensive, right? They're roughly the price of a computer. Right. But we all are convinced that we need a brand new one every single year. And the reality is if you're making not a lot of money, like let's say you make $10 an hour. Right. Can you realistically afford $1,000 a year?
I know, but the people do it though. Like
well, exactly, because what they've done is they break it up into payments. And so you tell yourself, oh, it's fine. It's just like $30 a month. I can afford that, right? Yeah. But it's kind of a mind meld. And so you have to sort of shift your thinking, but it's very, very hard. Actually, one of the more difficult pieces of PBJ Spreads the Love, which is the charity end, is going to be resetting the mindset. Because the mindset, again, if you've always lived like either on the government's dime, or you've lived like where maybe the way that people are getting paid is illegally, so it's under the table, it's all in cash, things like this. I mean, your mindset of money is completely different. Yeah. Right?
Question on that is, do you think, I'm sure it is, it's a learning thing, right? Like it's not, you don't just wake up and go, fuck it, I want to be poor and I want to live on the government. Because like I only say that because like the majority of my younger life, like we were on welfare and food stamps and all that crap. And when I got older, I just went, fuck this. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't think in 39 years that I've been alive, I've never filed for food stamps, never filed for welfare. I haven't even done like unemployment. When I lost a job, I went and found another job, and that was what it was.
Well, and that's awesome. Unfortunately, that is because of who you are in the inside. Right. But there should have been a platform set up for you so that you could see your way out, right? And then you can make the choice. Yeah. My attitude is that everybody should have the right to make a good or a bad decision. Sure. But how can you go and make a good decision when you don't know what a good decision looks like? If it's never been modeled for you, it's never been explained to you. I mean, my argument all day, every day is you're teaching all these kids Pythagorean theorem, photosynthesis, and all this. And I'm not saying they're not important things. They are. But is that more important than money? Money literally touches your hands every single day, and we do not touch on it in public education at all.
But they used to, right? Because I remember I had to balance a checkbook in home ec.
I was going to say home ec, and some, I will say that across the United States, there are some states that are trying to mandate putting some of those things back. Right. However, I will still argue that mindset is going to be the biggest shift here. So what ultimately I want to do is do some sort of a gamified app that basically will allow them to learn via games. So we learn better when we are doing. Okay. Right? Yeah. Most people are kinetic learners. So you've heard, I'm sure, like visual and audio, but most people are truly kinetic learners, meaning they learn by doing. Mm-hmm. So if you create something like an app that they'll actually utilize, then they will learn by doing.
That's cool.
Right? So I mean, it's going to take some time, but
but
that's the goal.
Working on it. That's cool. And like you say, like kinetic, I mean, like realistically, in the trades, most of the times we're kinetic learners. We learn by putting the shit together.
Right, absolutely.
That's how we do it.
Well, and not only that, but like think about your trade. How many times have you seen people almost in a weird way look down on electricians because y'all don't have a college degree, or y'all don't this, or y'all don't that? That's the other shift in education that I don't really like. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with college. I mean, this coming from the woman who has 2 degrees, so obviously I value education.
Sure.
But I don't necessarily think that needs to be the path for every single child.
It's not necessary. Like,
no.
There are different paths, like you said, and that's an argument that I also preach out too. Is that like, right? Everyone looks at electricians, plumbers, way beneath us. But in reality, like,
most of them make more money than most of the people who have college education.
Amen. We don't come out of our 4-year plan with thousands and thousands in debt. We're already making money, and we're already 9 times out of 10 we're already at that top tier of money by the time we get our main license and stuff.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, and so the objective is that gamified app, as they play it, they would actually earn money that would go into an account that would be able to fund any sort of education, be it trade stuff, right? Entrepreneurial training, like whatever basically would be an educational source for them, and showing them that there's other choices.
Hell yeah.
Because think about it, if you're in inner city, your family has no money.
Right.
Okay, you haven't had any educational anything. Probably what you have been taught is that the way out is either like something illegal, that's one choice, or like maybe if you get a really great scholarship by doing some kind of sports or something like that, then you can kind of get ahead.
Yeah.
But the reality is that's not always the path for all those kids, and that's all you basically have shown them. Why are we not showing them another way? Why are we not showing them, hey, you may be good with your hands. You can be an electrician. You can be a plumber. You could be an AC person, internet security. There is a heavy need right now for, my brain is gonna blank, cybersecurity. Okay. And cybersecurity programs, some of them are bachelor's degrees and stuff like that, but I believe they have some programs that are not that much. And a lot of these kids are great gamers. I mean, they understand technology. And
I mean, even on top of that, I have a few friends that like, they're in the coding area of like stuff, and they knew jack shit going in, and they just learned it. And like you said a minute ago, like where you gone through the process of that company where underwriting and so on and so on. They're the same thing. They did it.
Yeah.
They passed out mail, and they were like, "You want to try?" And, yeah, sure, I'll try.
Yeah.
And they just learned on the go and stuff. I think you're right. Like you hit it on the head with like there's those 2 options, right? There's that scholarship and something illegal, and like realistically, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to get a scholarship because like not everybody's fucking athletic.
Or they might, but then they're trying to go through these courses, and the only reason they're really there is the sports piece, but maybe they don't exactly know what to do, and so at least they will be better off that they won't come out with a crap ton of debt. But I'll give you an example. So this is why it tugs on my heartstrings. So I have a couple right now. They filled out an application earlier this week or last week, one or the other. Anyway, they're drowning in student loan debt. Okay. So they come to me, they want to buy a house. Usually by this point, they're either very late 20s, mid 30s. That's sort of the range of when most people start buying their first house. Okay. The actual average age of first-time homeownership is 35. Okay, that's what typically it is. Okay. And by the time they get to me, remind yourself, professionally, they have lived for 12, 13 years, maybe a little more. If they went to college, 12, 13 years, somewhere in that, that window, they're still drowning in student loan debt.
Yep.
They have enough student loan debt to practically buy a house, like just in the student loan debt alone.
Absolutely.
And that becomes a huge problem because then it limits their buying power hugely. And for what? They're making 50 grand a year. Right. And they took out 150 grand.
Yeah, their debt ratio.
The cost benefit analysis on that, the ROI is nil.
Right.
Like that was such a horrible decision. But guess what? Everyone told them, go to college. That's the only way you're gonna be successful.
And I think you're right. I mean, like if you do like you already sound like you're doing it, but like the aspect of it is that extra option, I guess, right? Like, or multiple options. Because you're right, it doesn't have to be a trades, doesn't have to be like cybersecurity. It can be entrepreneurship, and that's something that maybe this is a good conversation. This is a good link today, because like I've been for the life of me super busy, right? Entrepreneurship is
it is. Yeah, 100%. But you gotta be all the things.
Yeah, but I've always wanted to like whether it's trades or just entrepreneurship, is get it into the school system to show these kids that it doesn't have to be, you don't need a 4-year, 8-year degree. And so if you don't have to do that, there are other options or other avenues. And like you said, with that couple, I mean, like, their debt ratio is ridiculous, and it's going to be fucking probably hell or high water to get a loan approval and stuff like that, right? I would assume.
Well, and we may be able to help navigate and figure this out for them. I mean, that's something that we're really good at. You know, it's one of the reasons I've been as successful as I have been, even in the down years, is that we tend to be the fixers. So like, we're saving one this month where somebody else didn't do their due diligence, and she is about to be a single mom, her divorce is almost finalized, and guess what? They told her, oh, just kidding, we can't do the loan.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so we had to swoop in and figure it out and save it and whatever. I mean, and we get lots of deals that way.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's limiting them so much. And if they had been able to make different choices, maybe they would have made the same choices.
Right.
The point isn't where they end up at the end of the day. It's, did they know?
Right.
Did they go in eyes wide open?
Yeah.
I told my girls, so I have 3 adult stepdaughters. I told my girls the same thing, all of them. I said, I don't care what you do for a living, as long as you're good with it and you backed into it.
Yep.
You ended up there intentionally. You didn't just be like, well, I'll just figure it out. Like, you know what I mean? And I said, figure out what kind of lifestyle do you want, right? There's nothing wrong with people who want to live in a tiny home, right? And that's like their goal in life. Like, that's great, right? Or they want to live off grid, or they want to live in a 40,000 square foot house. I don't really care. But as long as you kind of have your goals set out, but none of that is being tracked or mapped for anyone.
Yeah.
And it's really sad.
No, I think what you're trying to like lay out there too is also like, it helps map out, because you can have a goal all day, right? You can go, I want to live in a $40,000 house or whatever. 40,000, that's pretty low.
Not gonna be many people that can find that, but you might be able to find that someplace in America.
Square foot house, maybe that one. But if you don't have that map that you're trying to options, or even learning how to manage money and do all that stuff, like, it doesn't matter how big your goal is. If your path is rocky, it's gonna take a whole hell of a lot of time to get there.
Oh yeah.
And you're gonna learn by default at that point.
The thing is too, is that, I mean, not everything's gonna go perfect on the path. I mean, you know, I know a lot about a lot of things. My mother made me read Sound Mind Investing when I was in 7th grade, so I know a lot about money, but I'm not perfect with it. Right. I mean, myself and my husband are not perfect with money by any stretch, but it doesn't matter. At least we have no one to blame but ourselves. Sure. We knew what we were doing. We knew if we took risks. We knew if we didn't take risks. A lot of people, when I talk to them and I ask them questions like, hey, I see this car loan that's delinquent on your credit report. Why is that? Well, that's not my car loan. Okay, explain that. Well, I co-signed for my fill in the blank.
Right.
Brother, sister, uncles, best friends, dogs, whatever, like, right? And I say to them, okay, do you understand what co-signing means? Nope. Well, I mean, it means that I just help them get the car. No, it means if they don't pay, you pay. Yeah. But they don't realize that, right? And I'm just telling you right now that most of the time the salesperson isn't gonna tell them.
Right, because
like they should, but they won't.
They want that dollar. That's it. Like, you're right.
Exactly.
All right. So with your program, that's a lot to even like try to like those are like courses in college. It sounds like, right? Like, that's not like a one semester.
I'm a very ambitious individual.
That's
you
a
can
lot,
figure that out.
And I mean, I'm all for it. Like, that sounds amazing. It's just like
it's going to take a lot of help and a lot of people. Like, actually, so PBJ Spreads the Love has been on my radar for about 3 years. Like, I've owned the domain for 3 years. But like, I have to make sure my main business, mortgage, survives, and that's what pays my bills, etc. Right? Yeah. So it's definitely been a challenge. And you know, like you said, entrepreneurship, it's hard. 100%. Like, you have to do all of the things, and you band with other like-minded individuals to try to share ideas. But even still, you're the one who has to implement the ideas. And if you're not implementing them, nothing is happening, no matter how many ideas you had, right? Sure. So what happened is I actually had a face-to-face with a guy in my industry. There's a realtor who uses him, and she's like, I would totally use you if I didn't have a Brandon, is what she said to me. And I was like, what's a Brandon? And so she explained to me who Brandon was. Well, then ironically, I ended up sitting right next to him in one of the Master Network's chapter meetings. Okay. And I introduced myself, and I was like, oh my gosh, I know you. You work with Rachel. And he's like, yeah, I work with Rachel. and whatever. So we tried to set up this face-to-face. Literally, we worked on it for 6 months, back and forth. He was busy, I was busy, something happened, whatever, right? We finally go to the face-to-face and we're having a conversation, kind of like we are, about mortgage and how long I've been in it, but what my real passion is, which is this other piece. And by the way, you have to understand why that's my passion. When I first started selling loans, not on the processing side, when I talked to the customer, right, on the phone, I would tell you 9 times out of 10, the people I was dealing with on the subprime space, those are people who are typically credit challenged. The ones that tugged at my heart were the ones that their credit was low, and the reason they were low is because they didn't know. They typically happen to be minority. They typically happen to grow up in very subset, like really meager means areas. And my goal was to educate them and at least give them some good information. But it really upset me that these people had no clue that they were being preyed upon for the lack of information that they held. And it always bothered me. And so moving forward in my career, no matter whether I worked with perfect credit individuals or challenge credit individuals and everyone in between, I made it my goal to make sure that by the time they finished talking to me, whether they use me or not, they learned something that would better their lives. Okay? That was always my goal. And so I asked myself, well, how could I prevent it? How could I ensure that there was no excuse for the mistakes that they made on the credit? That was if you went all the way back and you touched them when they were in school, right? You got them before they had to deal with credit and all that stuff, and that would be pre-18. So he and I were having this conversation, and he says, so why haven't you done it yet? And I said, because I'm one person. I can't, I'm dealing with all these other things. Mortgage, it's no surprise that in 2022, 2023, it has not been doing well, right? I'm trying to make sure to keep my ship from completely sinking financially. So, and he said, well, you don't have to do it by yourself. What if we all did it together? And I said, okay. And so we started gathering people and started working through okay, how do we start setting some of these things up? And all of us have different connections. I mean, no different than, our networking groups and things like that, right? And you start realizing okay, it's not who you know, it's who knows you and who they know, right? Like who do they know to connect you with? And so that's kind of been some of the project.
That's cool.
And I guess I've had a little bit more time because mortgage hasn't been as robust as it usually is.
You're almost and it's not your intention, but you're almost you're wanting to prepare the next generation, I guess, that's going to come up and buy houses.
Absolutely.
So I mean,
that's part of the American dream, right? I mean, whether you grew up dirt poor or wealthy as heck, we have it ingrained in our minds that you need to buy a house, you gotta own a piece of America, right? That is, people who come to our shores who never lived here before, that, they're like, oh my gosh, I need to own a piece of this soil. And so, why wouldn't I wanna make sure that those people can do it? Not necessarily from my pocketbook, but because it's the right thing to do, right?
And that's what I'm saying, I'm not saying
no, I know.
You're not foreshadowing your own pocketbook at that point, but what you're doing is first of all right for just the intentions of being correct, right? And you're talking even the conversation that you said that you had, kind of pulled at your hearts and stuff, right? And you literally just spoke every bit of my journey, because my credit was jacked up from 12 when my mom put an electric bill on my name and jacked me up.
I was gonna say, that they're actually putting legislation in place to remove that. That they have to, the credit agencies, if the person is under the age of 18, they have to basically get rid of all that negative stuff because it's very common. And a lot of people who have money do not recognize or realize that goes on. That people utilize children's credit to be able to get basic utilities. I mean, basic things that people have to live. Because let's be real here. People can say that air conditioning isn't a need, but we live in Texas where it's been over 100 degrees for how many days?
I call bullshit.
Right? I mean, exactly, right? So I mean, you just have to think about those kinds of things.
100%. But I mean, that's also all right. So
that's my soapbox. You're okay, I know we're talking about entrepreneurship. Actually, we're talking about charities today.
But that's an entrepreneurship in its own way, right? You asked what the topic was, but I don't ever have topics because this isn't an interview, it's a conversation.
Sure.
With this program and stuff, you almost, I guess it's beneficial no matter what age, right? Because
the actual goal is to have a parent app that kind of basically mirrors what the child app does, but maybe goes a little bit deeper, and it allows the parent to play it and also earn money for that child.
Okay.
But it will also help shift that mindset.
Because that's where it's at, right?
So here's the actual ultimate challenge.
Yeah.
It's not, what people don't understand about poverty, it isn't just about shifting the mindset of the child. It's also about shifting the mindset of the entire culture surrounding it, including parents, loved ones, people that they're interacting with, because they're going to school, they're learning certain things, like all of that, but then when they go home, it's what they're seeing. It's what they're being taught. It's what they're being told.
It's their anchor.
Right? Exactly. And so, and it's very hard to rip yourself out. I mean, people have done all kinds of studies. That's why mindset has started to become like this huge like focus kind of as a society. It's because it is. Your mind is so powerful. I mean, think about this for a minute. Your mind is so powerful that as a woman, I can believe I'm pregnant so heavily that my body will actually show the physical signs of pregnancy even if I am not.
Really?
I can lactate. I can literally get like a pregnant belly with no fetus whatsoever. That is how powerful your brain is.
Mindset. Yeah.
So if you cannot learn to make that move inside of your head, you'll never win. I mean, there's just no way.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's deep. That's big too. Like, I mean, because I also like mindset is a big thing that also should be taught in school. I think. I mean, like.
Oh yeah, agreed.
It's not like it's an imaginary thing where your wishes and hopes and dreams. You still got to put the legwork that gets you there. But like, if you're that RAS, I guess, that reticulating. I can't remember what A and S is. Reticulating something.
I'm
system.
not sure, but yeah.
It's that neural path in your head that kind of opens up, and then you start seeing stuff that's always been there, but now you're focused on it type thing.
Have you ever read, I'm in the process of reading, I'm not done yet, but The Mountain is You? It's a really good book. I liked it. So of course there's a lot of books about mindset and things like that and self-sabotage, things of that sort.
Yeah.
But The Mountain is You, it is based on like mindset and self-sabotage, but it goes a bit deeper into like how your actual bodily function affects mindset.
Yeah. Like
when people talk about gut feelings.
Yeah.
Right? So there actually is a scientific reason for that, and she like talks about that, that it has to do something with this lining of your stomach. I don't know, I'll mess it up. But it's very interesting to me because it sort of helps explain why. Like you do some of the things you do and you don't even really realize it, if that makes sense. And so it's just really, really interesting to me because one of the things that I learned, and I'm not saying this to like pat myself on the back, but myself, my husband, and my 3 stepdaughters are incredibly intelligent people, very off the chart smart. And what most people think is they think that that's such a gift, right? Oh my gosh, you're so smart. So that must just be such an amazing thing. Yeah. Well, it is, but it isn't. Because when your mind is that smart, it can get caught in these pathways that are very hard to pull out of. Because you convince yourself that they're true. Yeah. And whereas a normal person would just like take it as face value and like, oh, okay, that is what it is. Yeah. A smart person will hold it and like dwell there and stay there and keep circling it and like making something that shouldn't be a big deal 10 times bigger than it is. I jokingly say 90% of my problems is myself. Really? If I could just get out of my own damn head, it'd be great.
Well,
it'd be awesome.
What are you doing? Someone said, might have been my coach, like you have to prove that thought correct. So you're just sitting there like fucking helicoptering over it the entire time. Exactly.
Well, and she talks a lot about that, which is really interesting because I was like, I was like, there we go. I was like, all right. Another book that's good like that is like the 4 Agreements, the 5 Levels of Attachment. Those 2 books are awesome too. Anybody who's an entrepreneur should absolutely read all 3 of those books because they're super good. I'm an avid education person in general for myself. Yeah, they're good. You can listen to them. Like I have like every professional book on like where I can physically read it or I can listen to it. Yeah. Because let's be real, like you're driving to jobs and stuff like that, you can easily play in the car.
Those are things, and I've tried that too. I've tried the audio. Like I can do audio, but it
doesn't stick as well.
I gotta go through it like 5 times, and and I do have to read it too because there's something about that, I guess, that contact or whatever it is with it, but like that's that's fucking weird.
Yeah, it's weird the way your brain works. I do better physically reading too, but I try to do a lot of times both ways. Like I'll start like trying to listen to it the first time around, and like maybe take notes if I can, and then I'll maybe try to physically read it. That's why I own both ways.
I think that's something that's also something that's overlooked too. And like, I don't know if it's taught. Like, I have kids that are in like kindergarten and elementary and stuff. Do they still take like notes on stuff when they read books? Because like,
I don't know.
I wish somebody would have beat that into my brain when I was younger. Because like, I'll read stuff and I'm not gonna remember what the hell I read.
Yeah, you don't retain it.
Yeah, and that's just the way my brain works, right?
They actually say that physically handwriting it is better than typing it. Because there's something about the physical, like you having to draw it or something, that sticks in your brain more.
That makes
That's
sense.
why I own a Remarkable. I don't know if you know what that is. It's sort of like it's like an electronic note-taking system, but you have to physically write.
Okay.
But it'll convert it into typed writing too.
Okay.
So like there's different ways you can do it or whatever. But for me, it's huge because first of all, I'm ADHD, so I will lose every damn notebook I write every single note in. Okay, like
Amen.
I'm like, oh wait, I have some great notes. Oh, they're in that one. Where is that thing? In my car, in my house, in my I don't know, in my office, in my desk. I don't know, and I can't find it right, and so then it's really frustrating. So I started doing the Remarkable because I can like literally keep it all there. It just makes it easier.
It sends it over to like I guess.
Yeah, you can. It just depends on the way that you have it set up.
Yeah.
But you can just do a bunch of different things that way. Because that's the other thing, as I got frustrated about, I don't want to have to rewrite all the crap either.
Yeah.
So it's not a perfect like move from handwritten to like text, because obviously if your handwriting is bad, which mine is not always perfect, especially if I'm writing fast.
Yeah.
It won't be perfect, but you pretty much will be able to more or less tell what the heck you meant. You're like, oh, okay, and you could like fix it.
Gotcha. So what you're
That would take a lot less time.
What you're telling me is not to get that because like my everyone.
Your handwriting is horrible.
Everyone
You should
I
be a
know
doctor.
Exactly. They were like, why are you an electrician? You should be a doctor writing out prescriptions for whatever the hell I guess the pharmacist wants to fill in that day.
But to be honest with you, they don't even work as much on penmanship anymore because like computers have like taken over so far.
Yep.
Do you know that okay, so my stepdaughters are 25, 23, 21. The 23 and the 21-year-old never learned to write in cursive. They don't know how.
That's weird.
Do you know how to write in cursive, Rebecca? You do? Okay,
That's
same.
weird.
But not everybody does, because think about it. I mean, it's sort of a lost art, but in my mind, I'm like, nothing compares to a handwritten note, right?
Yeah.
So, like you like to be able to write in cursive, but my girls can't do it.
Huh. That's weird because my 8-year-old, I don't know where he learned it, but he's 8, so he's kind of like, he half-ass writes in cursive. I'm like, all right, I didn't.
Good for him,
I
though.
didn't teach you that. So where did that come
Well,
from?
I mean, a lot of these kids, though, holy crap. So get this, my best friend's daughter, she was in a Spanish immersion program. So the way that it worked is they literally only did Spanish except for like special classes. They spoke in English. Every other time, if it was reading, writing, anything, it was in Spanish. Okay. She, of course, learned to read. She's going into 2nd grade. She'll be 2nd grade now. She learned only how to read in Spanish, but she can read in English. She taught herself. I'm like, I don't know if I would be that smart to teach myself to read in English, but she did. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Our brains are amazingly powerful. We really just don't give ourselves credit for how powerful.
Well, all right, so that could also, I do this a lot. I don't know.
At least you're not punching it.
Punch
I'm
it,
like,
I swing it around every fucking 30 seconds. But that's also something.
you just need to move. I have to move. That's why I think I keep punching it. It's because I keep trying to move my body.
It's only a couple weeks old. I'm sure it could take a punching here and there. But I think so the you said not 2-year-old, but she's in 2nd grade.
2nd grade, yeah.
So what is that, like 8, 9?
She's 7.
7?
Yeah, she's 7.
I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to keep track, honestly. I have to think about like how old my nephews and all that are. I'm like, what grade are they in?
Yeah. So I mean, with that, like, it almost, to me, it ties. Everything ties together. I'll find a way to tie something together. It's just the way my brain works. Is like, even with the program that you're talking about, like that limiting, because that's what it is to me, right? Is that we're limiting everyone growing up. Like, you can't have money. Money's bad. You're never gonna have money. You're gonna be poor, type shit. But like this 2nd grader who taught herself how to read, even though she was taught in Spanish, she taught herself in English. Is that like, maybe that's the point of the program too, is that like we're, instead of putting caps on people, give them the options of like explore. And you don't get me wrong, you get to a point, you make your own decisions, you make your own choices. You want to go left, you go left. If it's a bad choice, it's a bad choice. But the option
But you go in, well, and you go in eyes wide open. You go in with some information and some knowledge, right? So my best and highest use, honestly, is I have the innate ability to see potential within people. I have no idea how I do it, but like I can see what they could be.
Can you give me some?
And I don't know, sure. I have no idea why, but here's what was really hard for me. For forever, I thought it was my job to force people to live up to their potential.
Right.
And then about a year ago, somebody said something to me that stuck so deep, it struck me at my core. He said to me, it's not your job to decide if they live up to their potential. It's your job to show them they have it. What they do with it is on them.
Yeah.
It's their decision. But forever, I was so frustrated and I was so angry because I was like, I don't get it. I know that Jeff could be amazing at blah, and if he could just see what I see, he would be able to just blow up.
Yeah.
Like, I just know it.
Right.
But you'd be like, whatever. I'm just gonna do what I'm gonna do, and who cares about what Jack said? You know what I mean? And like, it was super hard for me because I felt like I failed somehow.
Yeah.
But the reality is, he's right. It's my job to lay it on the table, and that's basically what I'm doing with these kids. It's my job to lay it on the table and show you what's available to you and what you could be.
Yeah.
It's your job to decide if you're going to do anything with it.
For sure.
Right?
And I mean, I think that's the game changer at that point.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're right. Like, you can take here's the Texan part of me. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? But if the horse doesn't know the damn water is there, that's a whole other ball game, right?
Exactly. Like, we have to at least show them and lay the path, and then they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And some people will always choose to do less because it's easier. Yeah. It's more comfortable. It's what they know. I mean, all of that is true. Like, that's one of the biggest things. And that's actually one of the things the book talks about is like, you literally will stay in uncomfortability because it's safe.
Well, because your brain is built to
even if it's miserable.
Yeah.
You'll be like, oh, but I mean, if I go out here, whatever, it could be 10 times worse. And it's like, but it could be 10 times better. Like, you're living in misery.
Yeah.
And that's one thing about me that I'm very unusual about. Like, I had a boss tell me this one time. She said, you're the most interesting person I've ever met. And I said, why? What do you mean? And she goes, well, when I tell you to implement something, you immediately do it. And I kind of looked at her because in my brain, remember, you don't know something is weird if you didn't know that that's not normal. Does that make sense? It's sort of like whatever detergent your family used. You thought that that was the only detergent there was because in your brain, like, that's what your family used. So you use that too. It's the same kind of a concept with me. Like, I had no understanding that when somebody told you to implement something, especially your boss, that you didn't just go do it. Like, in my mind, I'm like, somebody with authority who is smart told me to do this. I'm going to do it. And I just did it.
That's a benefit, though. Like,
I know, but I didn't realize that it was so weird. And so I guess in my brain, like, I am I am not as averse to change as most people are.
Right.
Like, I'm like, all right, things changing anyways. I might as well just
go
figure it out and whatever.
I think you're right. Like, I mean, there is a lack of like people that want to, as you said, even if it's bad, I'm sticking around, right? Like, I could be like working somewhere, relationships,
anything.
It goes over the whole schedule, right? It's just, it's weird that our brains are like, I mean, it's burning, but it's not that hot. I mean, it's like the marshmallows are tasting good after I'm done, but like,
that'll be fine.
No one wants to make that jump, or maybe.
That's why most people aren't entrepreneurs.
Well, maybe they don't want to, but maybe again, like, maybe they don't know they have that option.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, well, it's usually one or the other.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and it's just, I don't know. So I guess I use, like, everybody, I was getting in a fight with my husband because he used to say, I don't understand why you don't regret anything. That's ridiculous. People regret things. And I said, I don't. And he said, well, why do you not regret stuff? And I said, because I learned from it. Yeah. I'm not saying that I wish I would have made the bad decision I made, granted, but I still don't regret it because my choices are, I can live in the regret, in the misery that is that choice, and go back and beat myself up and stay in this circle of like, oh my gosh, I was stupid and I made a bad choice and blah, 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 blah. Like, I can keep going down this circle, or I can say, man, that was stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know why I did that. How can I adjust this?
100%.
Like, those are the options. And I choose to not regret. I choose to say, all right, well, I guess we're not going to do that again.
Yeah.
And let's move on. I mean, I'm not saying I do perfectly at that for sure. I still make a lot of the same dumb decisions I made before, but.
Sure. But I mean, there's a difference, and I agree with you, and I'm that way too, because like there's a difference between like remorse and regret.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
You know what?
That's a very good point.
That did not go the way I planned it. Right. What the fuck am I doing over here?
Yeah. How do I shift?
I've had it because like I've gone through a divorce, and like everyone's all like, "Are you okay?" You know what? I was like, I don't fucking know, man. I got works at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I'll talk to you guys later. Like, it's either move forward or fetal position and die at that point, right?
Yeah.
I like you said, I'll have a spot where you're like, you know what? I'm sorry. That was a bad decision. I shouldn't have made that one.
Yep.
I already made it. So let's go forward at this point.
That's all you
be done with it.
It's honestly all you ever can do.
That's it. It's day by day. Month by month.
Well, and it's a lot of reasons entrepreneurs fail as well, right? Because they make a bad choice, and you absolutely will make a bad choice when all the decision-making power basically lies with you.
100%.
Which, if you're a solopreneur, that's 100% the case.
Yeah.
But it's okay. Like, just shift. Say, okay, great. What did I mess up here? What can I learn from it? Like, people. It took me a really long time to learn and to sit in taking every interaction, no matter how good or how bad, as a learning experience.
Sure.
Because there is something you could take from all of it. Now, maybe the learning experience is, I don't want to be an asshole like that person was. That person was rude, and I don't want to be that person. Whatever the case may be. But you get to choose, right? You get to choose what your attitude looks like. And I jokingly told my stepdaughters not horribly long ago, I said, I used to hate my mother. One of the things she said, she told me all the time, have a good attitude, Jacqueline, have a good attitude. You have to have a good attitude. And I'll be like, stop saying have a good attitude. Like, this is ridiculous. It's such a cliche, stupid thing. I hate this, blah, 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 right? But the reality is, it's true. Like, if you literally just have a good attitude, like, this day is gonna be great.
Yep.
Like, even if you don't feel good that day, you're gonna wake up in a bad mood or whatever it is, it's your choice. Just like it is your choice to have good interactions and make good decisions about the interactions, right?
But that's also like you said, I mean, that's a mindset thing altogether, right? Because I can guarantee, I can promise you this from my own experience. Today's Tuesday. I woke up Monday and went, it's gonna be a good day. Got here and they went, hey, there's a lot of fucking fires. I went, well, shit, it's still gonna be a good day. Let's put some fires out.
Yeah.
And I went to bed last night going, I should be a firefighter, right? That was some good shit there. Woke up this morning.
You can talk to Zach about that next week.
Yeah, no, he showed me the pictures and that scared the shit out of me.
And you're like, no, never mind. I really don't want to be a firefighter. I only want to put out electrical, like problem fires, not real fires.
Yeah, I'll just call you when it happens. But like, it's the same thing for today. I went, cool, all right. I had a little brush fire over here. It's still burning a little bit. I got to work on that. Got here and they went, hey, another fire. And I went, well, fuck, all right, let's go. And that's all it is mindset, right? But that's another thing with like entrepreneurs, in my opinion, is that like, you're right, you got to learn by doing, and sometimes you're going to fall flat on your face. But instead of like sitting there and going, well, I fucking failed. Okay, so what actually failed? There's got to be some good in there too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like I did 50% of it good and I did 50% of it bad. So all right, so don't do that shit no more.
Right.
And let's
How do you learn from that? And then you did these things right, so continue to do that.
100%.
Like, one of the things, and I'm not always perfect at it because I'm ADHD and I get sidetracked, but I'll say it all the time. Scalable, repeatable practices. We have to create scalable, repeatable practices. What do those look like? What do we have to tweak? What do we have to fix? Like, that is how you get bigger and better, is scalable, repeatable practices, and coming with the attitude that no one shows up to work to do a bad job.
Right.
No one wakes up and says to themselves, you know what I like to do today? I just like to mess everything up. I really just like to mess everything up, piss everyone off. It's fine. It's good. It's fine. I just want to make everybody mad. And nobody says that. So most people. I mean, there might be the occasional guy or gal who does that, but no. For the most part, that's not the case. And so the thing is they may be having a bad day that's not allowing them to perform up to par.
Yeah.
But we do not know what is happening behind the scenes. So your choice is, You can have the attitude, this person is an idiot, they're trying to make my day worse, blah, 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 blah. I promise you, it's probably not about you.
It's probably something a little deeper for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And so your choice is that you can make the day worse for them and worse for yourself.
Yeah.
Or you can have grace and compassion and you can be understanding.
And there's a fine line to that too, right? 'Cause,
Yes,
like,
for sure.
We've had discussions here, like just leave. I hate to say this, but I was like, leave your emotions at the door.
Yeah.
We got some work to do, and then afterwards, if you need to bring
very
it
guy
back in,
thing
we
to
can
say.
talk. Yeah, it's us.
It is, but
I
it's
was
okay.
this close to literally buying like just a beat up little bucket, like cigarette butt, and like mounting that bitch to the door, just showing that's where you leave them.
That's where you leave your
Come in
emotions.
here. And you're right, it is a guy thing. But I also go, my door is open. If we need to have a conversation and talk, we can always figure something out type shit. I'm a very asshole-ish optimistic person, I guess. I don't know if that's...
Asshole-ish optimistic. It's an interesting way to phrase it.
I mean, if you look it up in Webster's dictionary, is that still a thing?
Yes, it is. I know, right?
It's my picture.
But people are just not, people are just not like getting the physical copy anymore.
Yeah.
They're just looking it up online.
There's no guy like knocking on your door going, I got 32 of these, you want to buy one?
Fun fact, Webster's dictionary is how my husband and I decide who's right about word pronunciation. He'll swear he's right and I'll swear I'm right, and so we'll go punch it in, and then there's like a little thing that you can push the button on and it'll say the word. And so then we decide who said it right. We're like, oh wait, what did they say? Okay, then so when whoever is right. So like I'm right about pecan and he's right about, I say caramel and it's caramel. Caramel. It is, truthfully. Now I'm still going to say caramel.
It's caramel.
But I am wrong on the pronunciation per Webster's dictionary. For using them as the authoritative. Yeah, for using them as the authoritative source.
Now I want to look that up. Which one is it? Potato or potato?
I'm pretty sure it's potato, but
I don't know. That
I
used
know.
to be my go-to.
The age-old argument.
Yeah, when people used to say stuff, they'd be like, hey man, I told you X, Y, and Z. I'd be like, tomato, peach, same fucking thing. And they look at me like I was stupid, and
you're like, no, it's a joke, but yeah.
But it's alright. You're not as smart as I
am. You're not getting it all the way. It's okay.
Yeah. So
that was a little over your head.
Let me ask you this: is
Sure.
like entrepreneurship in total, right? You said many hats, difficult, the whole shindig, right? And I think a lot of people don't realize this. And one of my mentors told me, he came to one of my employee meetings one day, and he went, "Who all in here wants to be a master electrician? All the hands.
Oh yeah, of course.
Who wants to own their own business? Yeah.
Who wants to do the work?
And he asked this. He's like, who wants to get paid last? And everyone went, nope. And he's like, that's how it works as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
You gotta pay your guys, you gotta pay your bills, you gotta pay Uncle Sam, and then if there's something left behind, cool.
You get it.
You got a little chump change in your pocket and stuff. I think that's a very, not optimistic, sometimes words don't come to me. I think that's the thing that like people that want to do entrepreneurship, they don't realize that there's always going to be a struggle. There's always, go back to fires. Put that one out. Fuck, who lit a cigarette over here?
Yeah.
I think that's a miss. Fuck, man, words. Leave all this in here. I got to wrap it up in 10 minutes. Hey, that's unique, right? Because we used to be on pen and paper. We're digitalizing shit here.
Nice, I like it.
We're moving with the fucking grooves here.
Yeah.
I can do this in 10 minutes, I think. Probably not if I can't think of words. Like a lot of people think that like entrepreneurship, it seems like it's a trend more than an actual.
Yeah.
This shit is hard. I mean,
It is.
I tell everyone that I meet, I'm like, fuck entrepreneurship. Why don't you be an entrepreneur and find a company that you want to grow with and grow with them type shit, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think that is sort of the key, right? Like you have to kind of figure out, and again, it all goes back to not only mindset, but also wherewithal. Like what kind of wherewithal and mindset do you create to be able to go forward? And again, what do you want out of life? Because there's literally nothing wrong with wanting to have, steady Eddie kind of a job where, you're able to do different things, etc. I think that again, it goes back to eyes wide open. People need to be all the things laid out so they can say, okay, like I get a lot of people that come to me in the mortgage space and they want to figure out what company they want to move to or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so I always tell them the exact same thing. Great, I would love to help you figure that out. I need you to do me a favor. Before I will talk to you, I need you to list on a piece of paper your top 10 things and I need you to rank them. What do you want?
Okay.
Then we're gonna have a conversation, and I'm gonna have you understand that you might get 2 to 3 out of your top 5, maybe.
Okay.
You will not get all 10, no matter how much they tell you you're going to get all 10.
Right.
It's bullshit, not true, okay? And then number 2, you need to ask yourself, is this something you need right now for this stage of your business? Like, you have to ask yourself a lot of really hard questions.
Yeah.
If you're willing to do that, then sure, I'll be happy to help you. But if you're not, and you just want me to fluff you up and say, oh, you know, it'll be great, whatever, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the real world. So like, people maybe get frustrated with me because I'm very upfront and in your face, but I tell you the truth because you need to hear it. It's no different about entrepreneurship. You need to know the truth. It's amazing if you have great goals and great things that you want to accomplish, and that's the only way you're going to get there, then awesome. But if you can make a huge difference within a company, and the company is going to handle a bunch of all that back end stuff that you don't want to deal with, and you don't want to handle, and you don't want to whatever, that's also great.
Yeah.
Just decide what your path needs to look like. And again, go in eyes wide open.
Yeah. You kind of give them all the, like, right, you're right, because then now you can pick from the tree what fruit you want to eat, right?
Absolutely.
And then I guess some of the stuff is that, like, the backbone, or not the backbone, but like, all right, it's going to be this hard for this, and it's going to be this hard for that. And
right.
Or at least the options are there, eyes wide open type stuff, like, right? I think some of the stuff, and maybe that's a problem, but like sometimes people don't know what they're getting into.
Yeah,
So
no, they
like,
don't. And you're not, I mean, it's no different than marriage and divorce, right? Mm-hmm. No matter how many times you explain to somebody who's never been married what it's like, you can't. Like, they can't, they cannot 100% understand until they're in it. Right. You can give them great analogies, you can kind of, lay out some things. Same thing with divorce. Yeah. They're not going to be able to explain the feeling of what it feels like for a marriage to fail until it happens. It just, you can't conceptually understand that. But what you can do is you can look at it and educate yourself and decide, like, okay, and then try to make the best choice you can possibly make.
I guess, like, with the eyes
wide open.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing, and like that goes back to the mindset too, right? Like you said, you can, hey man, this might happen. It might be like this, it might not be like that. But then when it happens, if your mindset is right, then like, go back to your shit, right? Is that like, yeah, I did it. All right, next. Right. That's all you can do at that point. Maybe, so I mean, how does that, surely your game, if you will, your app is, there's got to be a way to fucking correlate someone's mindset too. Well,
and it won't be me who figures exactly all of that out. I mean, the goal is that we hopefully, one of Brandon's connections is in some of the corporate space, and hopefully they'll be able to pour in certain level of funds into some of that, because there's going to have to be some tech aspects created, etc. As the people who are much smarter than me, who understand exactly how to achieve that aim, if you will, that will probably do a better job of it, right? So I'm a firm believer that, like, just so you know, it's never the Jacqueline show. Like, sometimes people will act like that. I actually never wanted to be on video. I basically got told a little over a year ago that I was gonna be the face of my brand whether I wanted to be or not, and I was terrified. I was like, I don't wanna be the person who's like the face, but that's sort of what God told me I got to be. So I was like, cool, God, I'll do that. All right, I'll be the face. Because truthfully, I'm incredibly passionate about education in all realms, but specifically on like the mortgage and the finance side, just because it's such a giant aspect of people's lives. It's not just some little bitty piddly something or other. I mean, it affects almost everything else you do. Right.
I mean, even if that's the only genre that you touched on with this charity and application and stuff like that, it pours into other parts of their life, so it doesn't matter. Like, that's a beneficial thing. I'm just worried about mortgages and finances and shit. But if they get their finances under control, then they'll get this under control, and maybe their emotional state is under control, and just it all pours.
Well, I mean, remind yourself, money is the number one reason for divorce. Yeah. Like, it's the number one reason families break up and stuff like that. Is, again, it's all about being on the same page and understanding and looking at all those things. And we come in with all of this crap 100%. And we bring it all into our relationship, etc. If we had a little bit better info, we might could have made different decisions, better decisions. Maybe we wouldn't have, and that's okay, right? I mean, things happen for a reason, and it'll figure itself out. But it would be better if at least the information existed. And I feel like, unfortunately, we've stripped that out of our society. And we have all the technology. I mean, we have more at our fingertips now than we ever have.
Yeah.
And more ability and capability to do it. So why not?
Yeah.
Why not do it?
I think we're programmed to be fucking idiots, I think, at some point in time. So I mean, that's...
Oh, people don't want you to free think. But that's a whole other conversation. That's
people.
much more than an hour conversation.
Don't you worry about it. Before you leave, we'll put it on the schedule. We went all over the place, but I think...
It's fine. That's kind of how I roll.
But I think it pulled together, and it's all, again, no. I think it all pours together, like I was talking about earlier. So everything's kind of pulled together in its own way. Man, I'm definitely going to get you back out here if you're all right with it. If you have fun and shit.
I'd be happy to.
Maybe it's not as hot and shit in Texas by the time we do it, because I think we're booked out to like December. So it'll be a while.
That's okay.
But no, it'd be great to have you back in. Any person out there that's listening that wants to join that entrepreneurship lingo right there, learn how to code real quick. We got an app in the process when you build and shit.
Exactly. You want to help with PBJ Spreads of Love? Reach out to me.
Fuck yeah. No, Jacqueline, I appreciate you stopping by the compound, as a lot of people like to call it.
There you go, the compound. I like it.
We'll get you back on the schedule. Hopefully, for everybody listening, the one guy in Chicago, I think there's a guy in the Philippines, or a gal. I don't want to be rude.
Yeah, exactly. We're not sure.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. If you learned something today, if you like the stories that you heard, maybe it hit you in a certain way, maybe you got a friend or family member that it will touch. The only way we're going to grow this bad boy is to share. Again, Jacqueline, thanks for showing up again. We'll put it back on the thing. Thanks for stepping into the ring with entrepreneurship.